buried in the Mother Earth will carry you, lay your burden down. Find the cost of freedom, buried in the ground. Mother Earth will carry you, lay your burden
Thanks, Roshi. I think we're going to take some questions because we haven't really done that, and there is an online audience that has sent in a few questions.
A few, I thought there were like 15 pages of questions. Are you exaggerating again?
No. One of the questions relates to something that I'm going to bring up as a question. And the question was simply, what is a guru? And that question comes from New Zealand. Supriya in New Zealand. So can we get a definition?
What is a guru? Oh, that is a guru. Okay, you right? No. Netty.
Well, both. We need both. So one at a time.
Well, age before beauty.
If you were going up a path on a mountain, your teacher walks with you and points the way. A guru walks in front of you and is the way. Is the way. The guru is a doorway into the one. My relation with Maharaji, it was not shaken by his dying, because it was soul to soul, and he definitely was the soul, not the body. I couldn't miss the body. It was wonderful to have the body. But when he left, it was just light and presence. Yeah.
Roshi?
So if I can be perfectly frank, the whole issue around the guru thing is a source of ambivalence for me. Yeah. Yeah. So, in the sort of ideal world, the guru nourishes the conditions where one can awaken. So I think the name even means dispeller of darkness. So that would mean the conditions for awakening or enlightenment become visible. And it's just gotten so messed up in our world. How strange the field around many teachers becomes. And I think one of the powerful things from my point of view of being with RD is that his relationship with Maharaji is characterized by a lot of purity. All of us long to be in that field, in that quality of relationality. And it's the thing that Rumi writes about and that strikes us to our hearts. And so I'm a kind of pragmatic person. And I think it's one thing to have people throw out their big Buddha feels or enlightenment feels, but that's not so interesting to me personally. What's really interesting is when the guru or the teacher creates the conditions where you retrieve your own projection of enlightenment onto that individual, and you awaken to what is. And I think we give away our enlightenment all the time. And in a certain way, it's a sort of self-robbery. That's kind of one way to put it. But anyway, a kind of self-robbery that seed is in every being. And sometimes we project it so much on another that we're left in the dark ourselves. And when I hear Ram Dass speak about Maharaji, I have the feeling that it's not a process of projection, but the experience of mutuality or of co-realization. Yeah, so something like that. Is that okay?
Yeah. The only thing that we have, we take the guru as a separate being. And the guru is inside, in that soul, inside. And so when you want wisdom from your life, you can go inside to their awareness, and the guru will lead you. Often you internal dialogues. The guru is something we call the intuition. We have wisdom, we have love, we have joy, we have peace, we have compassion. And And that's all the guru inside.
And I think another way of looking at this is that the guru perceives who you really are. And in that experience of being perceived, you're able to perceive it. So you're not a pocketbook, you're not a sexual object, you're not stupid, you're not ignorant, but has the capacity for actually penetrating past all of the screens of personality and karma to this undivided self. And in that way, everyone is a guru. Because everyone has that potential for being able to perceive and be perceived in that way. And if I could just have another minute more, is that okay? I'd like to be very deferential. I just, as I said, I come out here every year. I call it my heart transplant. I so cherish our friendship, and also we tease each other. We're very mischievous, and then we also we get into little arguments about the soul issue, and we don't always agree on stuff, and we try not to bring it out to the public like good parents. So we're always checking with each other, like, have I stepped on your toes again, etc. But I want to just say a little something about that for me, I got inspired very much from James Hillman around the issue of love. And I think awareness is great. I actually love to talk about love, and I hope we'll do some more on love. But anyway. So I was reading James Hillman on the subject of love some years ago, and he was talking about how in the experience of love, there's this process that goes on that's based on mutuality, that's characterized by transparency. And that word it would kind of, my mind and my heart was like, yes, 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 yes. And then in thinking about what RD and I are doing in these few days that we have together here, I wanted to share this. It's a kind of model. I love models, so forgive me. But this is a kind of a model. And it's a model about love, and it's also a model about awakening. And it's why we practice. And I've called this the Threefold Transparency. And I would suggest that this applies to our experience, whether our guru is alive or not, but in the exercise of oneness with the teacher. And that is that in our process or in our practice, we are transparent to our own mind. And that is what Raghu began with this morning in terms of Vipassana. It is really lighting up to our own mental continuum, where we familiarize ourselves with what's happening in this phenomenal endowment of our human experience, which is of heart and mind. And we actually bring our attention to it instead of our external devices or to the outside world. We actually bring ourselves to our internal experience, where we touch into the heart and we touch into the mind, and we become deeply familiar with this experience that we're addressing here, which we could call the experience of awareness, but is also characterized when we drop deep into it by love, or by this fundamental non-separateness in the field of non-duality. And then we could move into, from that base, the second fold of the Threefold Transparency. And that is from this capacity to see who we really are. And this is what the Guru has realized, but also creates the conditions where we can realize it. We're actually able to perceive into others, to see who they really are. The world becomes transparent to us. Reality presents itself to us. The filters that bias our perception are somehow dropped away through our own capacity to see deeply into our own nature, and we open up into the experience of perceiving the world, perceiving each being, perceiving each other. And the third fold of the threefold transparency is that we allow all beings, we allow the world to perceive us. We have a really undefended heart, where people, our cats, our dogs, goldfish, the sun, the moon, everything is able to actually see right into who we really are. We're completely undefended. So we see into ourselves, we see into the world, and then the world also can see into us. Free of the filters of identity, free of the filters of fear, into who we really are. And I think that from my own experience, in having had the joy of being with some really wonderful gurus, and also in my relationship with some of you in this room, and also with Ram Dass, my old friend, that threefold transparency is working us all the time in those relationships where the process of fear has dropped away. And then I'll turn to Ram Dass and I'll say, "Is that okay, Baba?"
Maharaji said to me, "Ram Dass, I want you to love everybody." And I said from up here, "I can't. I just can't." And he came up to me nose to nose, and he, "Ram Dass, you are to love everybody." And I said, I can't. Because up here, of the judge, I love that one, but not that one. And then he was starting to train me to live from my soul, because the soul looks at everybody as souls, and you love souls. You love soul. Funny thing, I said, I can't love anyone. I can't love politicians. They don't love me, and I don't love them. And so there was a Secretary of State that I couldn't love. More recently, it was George.
No, that's okay. George Carlin.
George.
That's okay, Charlie. You can just let it go.
Bush.
You got it.
Bush. I can't, my longest. And I'm a Democrat, and I can't love George Bush. And I can't believe the killing and the whole thing. And so finally I took picture of George Bush. Put him on my puja table where I have all of the saints. And they were beautiful. They're beautiful, you know. Anandamai Ma, Jesus, they were all beautiful people. And so I just go through and I'd say, well, hello, Anandamai Ma. Oh, Maharaji, you've done so much for me. Hello, George. And then I saw how much of that was in me. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting? I can look at George as a soul. He is a soul. And just like us. And all I could do was judge his incarnation, and only to look at him. And I looked at this soul who's taken this horrible incarnation. And I tremendously compassionate for that soul. Poor George. And I can, now, that's my soul, and I can see his soul, but I can drop down to my ego and hit him now. George. But that up here is, these are two places. George, I'm judging you and judging your incarnation. And here is your soul. I'm compassionate.
We do another question here. Ready? One more from the online audience. My name is Shane, and I live in Northern Ireland. This is a post-conflict area, and many people are still divided through their religious and political identity. I work in the community with young people and try to promote the ideas of love and respect for all people, regardless of differences. Sometimes I feel like I'm banging my head on the wall and just unable to get through. My question is, do you have experience working in a similar environment? And what advice do you have for me so that I can promote these ideas of love to young people who are so entrenched in their own political and religious identities?
She radiates love.
So he, she.
He radiates love to these young people. He's a model of loving. Model of how he's loving both sides. Now, they're not going to accept that because they're in their minds. he could talk to them about their minds and their hearts. And and they want peace. If you want peace, you've got to radiate peace. That will be the quickest way to peace. It won't be by, I want peace. It will be, I'm peaceful. And that will be good.
Yeah, I'm reminded of Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Being Peace. Yeah. So in our tradition, the Mahayana tradition, one of the things that we discover about bodhisattvas is that they intentionally do not seek easy situations. And next month, my teacher and good friend Bernie Glassman, Roshi Bernie, he's coming to visit RD. And one of the things that he does that I think is, he does many remarkable things. He's a real out-of-the-box Buddhist. He goes to Auschwitz. You know, he's a Jew. He goes to Auschwitz every year. And, I had the privilege of going on 2 occasions and sitting on the selection site in November, which is really nasty weather, with 120, 130 or 40 people. While the names of those who died in Auschwitz are read from the 4 corners of the sitting group. And while in this retreat that Bernie supports, I could really understand why he suggests or recommends that we go to where the suffering is greatest. Because out of that experience, and at the very end, my first time there, we're all in this big hall, and the rabbis and the sons and daughters of SS people and Muslims and Sufis, and everybody was there. Peter Matheson, the writer, leaned over to me and he said, "How in the midst of so much hell and suffering can there be so much joy? Can there be so much joy?" Yeah. So I think that's why many of the people in this room actually do work very much inspired by Ram Dass, with dying people in the prison system, in communities that are impoverished, with women who've been abused, with children who've been neglected. Because it's in that midst where our capacity for boundless love can authentically manifest. We're safe in this vessel here, though we all suffer in various ways. But we're here for a kind of in-breath of refreshment. A number of you have had really hard lives and do hard work, so the importance of taking time, stepping away, can't be underestimated. It's self-care. There you are, Deb, in the middle of nursing, and you in the middle of your work, the questions that you asked. So the inhale is really important. And the exhale is also where we manifest great love for the world. And that capacity is And Ron, what you do with people with ALS. And Sandy, your work. And it's just amazing, the few people I know in this community, what you bring. The inhale is really important. The healing of your own heart, the resourcing, the coming home to love. And then you have this resource that you can offer to the world. And what I've discovered, because I've been doing this work in, I make a bad joke. I say, this is horrible, but anyway, I say, I love lost causes. I really love lost causes, because if I have any idea if somebody should have a good death, or I'm going to save this prisoner, or, deworm every child in the Nepali Himalayas, that really wrecks the whole thing. It just totally wrecks it. I mean, I want the best outcome, but my gaining idea to get somebody somewhere, do something, separates me from the actual process of love and service, which they're not separate from each other. So no gaining idea, not trying to get an outcome, is a really important part of this work, apropos of your question. And part of it is that backward step that Zen Master Dogen talks about. We've taken a backward step. We're taking an inhale so that we can be in this field of boundless service. So my advice to this young man would be, afford yourself an inhale so you can really be peace.
Beautiful. Thank you, Roshi. We have a little bit of time left, so how about a question from our brethren right here?
Thank you. Good morning. First of all, I wanted to thank you, Roshi and Baba, for your mind-blowing, heart-filling lessons. And I'm particularly struck by the interval work that we've been discussing about breathing. I'm a person that I've had serious difficulties breathing, to the point of having had a double lung transplant in the near recent future, a successful one. And I was reading Ram Dass's last book, Still Here, this morning, and about the cemetery lesson, as you called it, of the charnel house meditation. And so it was interesting that we opened the morning with your recall of your conversation last night about death. And what I was struck by was, and I wanted to hear more about, was on the exhale, after the inhale has been taken, but on the exhale, what the drop into meant. Because I felt for myself that there was something there that I need to understand more fully. Thank you.
So the last breath that we'll take will be an exhale. And those of us who've sat with dying people know, we've seen, we've witnessed how amazing it is. Sometimes the breath, that exhale goes on and on and on. And in our training, what we endeavor to do is to bring the quality of loving awareness or loving attention or compassion for the whole world, or let the exhale be an exhale that is a blessing for all beings. And at the end of the exhale, there's this kind of space that opens up. So it's like you ride your intention like a beautiful boat to the other shore, and then you don't carry the boat on. You're released from the boat, so to speak. And it's at that, in that gap, in the experience of practice, that where we know freedom, where freedom is born.
New question? Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was wondering about, Roshi, when you talked about that you think we so often give away our enlightenment. Could you just explain that a little bit more for me? I felt that I understood what you talked about after that, but I just kind of wanted to get a little bit more of an impression of what I think unconsciously do when we give away our enlightenment.
I think in psychology it's called positive projection. And it's projecting a part of yourself onto the individual, in this case the teacher. And what I've learned in having been in my little job for a few years is that positive projection is usually followed by negative projection. And I can honestly say it's not pleasant to be the recipient of negative projections either. So part of the process in the student-teacher relationship, at least from my perspective, is creating the conditions where there's a deep, grounded sense of honesty between, a sort of fundamental frankness between me and whomever I'm interacting with. And part of it also is to see if you can create the conditions where when the negative projection arises, that the student doesn't abandon the relationship or the practice. Because that's usually when people jump out of the cab and go screaming, the other way. So it's a very, relationship with a teacher is a very profound experience. It's been described as an infinite coastline. Infinite in the same that our relationship with our parents is infinite. Also, the relationship with our spouse can be infinite, or relationship with even a therapist can be infinite. And everything is born in the experience of that coastline. Hopefully, there's a kind of divine hook that happens that is deeper than karma in the sort of more superficial sense, where the really deep karma abides, where we can be in the mutuality of the relationship, where there's mutual transparency, and where you can see, wow, I just laid all my good stuff on my guru, and like Ramesh said last night, it really had us laughing at dinner. What we found out is that Maharaji has really kind of a rich mouth. Is that a nice way of putting it, Ramesh? And you realize, wow, that's a divine and human being, all three, a divine and human and being. And so the acceptance of your own enlightenment, which is hidden to you, becomes accessible. And the acceptance also of your own feet of clay become a great source of humor to you and humility. So retrieving your projection of enlightenment on your guru doesn't mean that your guru isn't enlightened. Also, your guru has feet of clay, has a human body too, and it will drop off. Also, your guru might have kind of an enriched mouth, so to speak. And also, your guru might fall off the wagon, who knows? But it's more this process of being able to see that from one point of view, the whole universe is enlightened. So that's what's said in the old Zen stories, that this whole universe is awake. like that. Not just one person, but that one person has the potential for creating the conditions, nourishing rather the conditions where you can see that. Sometimes.